Okay, this is my second time doing this reading about Apollo 18. I watched the movie the other night, and I'm going to give you basically none of the backstory, but I will tell you Apollo 18 was apparently the last known mission to the moon that the United States Department of Defense undertook. So the crew included three people. There was Nathan Walker, John Gray, and Captain Ben Anderson. Captain Ben Anderson, actually, for the majority of the movie, is in a, obviously a spaceship going, like hovering above the moon or going around the moon, whatever. He's not actually walking on the moon or there to witness what happened to the other two. The other two are sent down to plant multiple cameras in different areas, mostly because they're told to spy on the Russians. But that's not actually what ends up happening according to the movie. And that was officially why we've not tried to return. There was moon rock, apparently, that did make it back to Earth from that mission and was largely gifted to countries around the world. This is my deck. I'm going to use to the deck that I created to do this reading. It's important that I point that out only because I want this to be relevant in as many different ways as possible. Let me see what I'm going to get these cards out first, and then I'll start telling you why this is personally maybe applicable or a little bit difficult for me to spit out. Okay, so yeah, here we've got the Four of Swords. So this is a waiting energy. This is like, I'm ready to cook. I have all the ingredients. I just haven't started cooking yet. Okay. That's kind of the feeling that came from that movie. There's a ominousness about it that you wait for the majority of the movie to figure out what the heck is going on. Okay, at the bottom we've got Five of Cups, which is the Selkie. Selkie is a mythical being that apparently can wear the skin of a seal or take the skin off and walk. If you've ever seen In Her Skin, it has Scarlett Johansson in it. That's very much the energy. I'm gonna take this one because that's the energy. There's an unveiling or a revealing that happens in that movie. That's relatively, they're supposed to be there spying on the Russians, like I said, but what ends up happening, if you haven't seen the movie, I'm gonna spoil it for you, is that they end up getting this is Ten of Swords, confronted by an entity that they cannot explain, that they don't have any direct knowledge about prior to getting there. And I will tell you the channelings that were coming through for me, why I'm doing this reading in a moment, but I want to get these out first. So you've got the Five of Cups and the Ten of Swords underneath the Four of Swords. So this unveiling is kind of like contentious. Like it is a horror movie, by the way. However, like I said, the moon rocks that are collected from the Apollo 18 mission are gifted to multiple countries around the world on Earth, like the Earth world, the planet here. Okay. And that's going to be important to remember in a moment. Yeah. So here we've got the Nine of Wands. And I'm going to tell you why this card only has one wand in it, even though this is the Nine of Wands. It's because if you're born in the month of September, September actually means ruler. It's the reign. It's the royalty. You are regality. It's being of, the king walks around with a scepter. Or if we're talking about wizards and witches, this would be, this is the Empress card here. This would be the king, or like the wizard. This is his wand. This is if you're an enchantress or a sorceress. This is your wand. This is the equivalent to a wand in Harry Potter. Each person has a different wand. If you're born in the month of September, then you can look it up for yourself. But a scepter, this is the scepter that's used by September babies. Okay. Let me see what's at the bottom of the deck, and then I will continue the reading. There we go. So this is the Five of Coins coming out in the upright. This is the lock and key that goes with the scepter. And I want to say that this is important because this actually, it's supposed to be ironic. That's why the reason I drew it this way. These keys are way too small for that lock. You got to be taller, bigger, braver. You got to get a bigger set of keys. That's actually not the set of keys that fits there, but it's supposed to make you think about it. Where would you find whatever fits in that lock? Right? Okay. Now, I'm going to switch decks. I'm going to show you again what we've got on the table here. And this is the top of the reading is here. I'll just put it over to the side so that you can see. Okay, in Disclosure Day, they talk about animals having an affinity or an ability to channel off-world entities, correct? I've not seen the movie yet, but from the trailer, that's what I ascertained. In Apollo 18, ends up that something gets in the suit of one of the men. A rock gets into the suit of a literal rock, like a piece of rock, of moon rock, gets into the suit of one of the astronauts while they're fixing the equipment outside of their, vehicle, whatever you want to, rover, whatever you want to call it, and ends up embedding itself in the rib cage here. He ends up being infected and is not able to return to Earth. Okay? Toward the end of the movie, you can see something. He said that something was in his helmet. That's the way he described the rock. Now, we never really learn what happened. How did this rock get inside of his suit, his outfit? They never explained that. He fell down, and that's it. He fell down, like took a tumble, and that's it. This rock got into his suit and gets into his flesh, okay, into his physical flesh. Like I said, later in the movie, you end up seeing these rocks turn into small spiders, or what looks like a spider. They investigate that a tiny bit further, but not really. That's basically where the movie goes downhill and ends, right? Like, the astronauts are not invited to return to the Earth because they've been in contact with whatever killed the cosmonaut that was sent from the Russians. So the Russian cosmonaut is found dead, and they can't figure out what happened. Strange things like the flag keeps getting taken down. People are messing with everything around their pod. That, not people, but whatever is in the space rocks continues to mess with their equipment, their flag, their pod itself, and them the entire time that they've landed on the moon. And they're only supposed to be there for like 2 days. Okay. I'm going to take this space rock because it's relevant to this waiting game. That's what you're waiting to find out in the movie. What is inside of these rocks and why is it attacking them? Why can't they get through that door? Okay, why don't they understand what's going on? They also realize while they're up there that the government has complete knowledge of what had already happened to the cosmonaut. And that's the real reason they were sent up to the moon, was to find out what happened to the first Russian mission to the moon. Okay? I'm going to give these a shuffle. I want you to think about, while we're talking about this also, the nature of technology. Excuse me, my voice just cracked. Just cracked so bad, and I've got the hiccup suddenly, so excuse me. My alarm just also went off on my phone. I woke up a little early today. I hope you can't hear that because I'm not going to turn it off. Well, actually, I might. Give me a moment. Okay, excuse me. So while we're talking about technology and understanding that things such as the Q, so when you go to Bing.com, right, and you type in the search bar any words or whatever you enter into the search bar, that's called the Q. It's going to send out what is called spiders that go out to find, it's called a query. They query your request. They figure out all of the feasible answers that may be out there and list them for you. That's the next page that you see after you press the search button. Okay? Spiders go find what it is that you want. So if you were to think about the World Wide Web as literally being a spider's web, if we're at the edge of the spider's web asking for a query about a piece of information regarding, I don't know, spiders, then the spiders go and find, or whatever the query for whatever it is that we're searching for. Okay? If you think about that in terms of the moon and reproductive fertility cycles for women, your cycle every month is called menses. And yes, sometimes it does coordinate with the cycles of the moon. Or if you're in a group of women at that specific time, your cycles tend to sync up. If you spend a lot of time around other women, that just happens. If you're close with them, if there's an emotional connection, which if you know tarot, then you know that's the water. The water is influenced by the moon. So I want you to think about all these things while I'm doing this reading. Let me get some for the Five of Cups, the Ten of Swords, and the Nine of Wands, please. Okay. This mouse card just came out. I don't really know if it came out upside down, sideways, however, it just kind of flipped out. This is quiet as a mouse, but also, you know how mouses have access to things that we just can't quite fit through. little holes in the wall. All of your everything inside the wall is accessible to a mouse if there's a hole this big. Okay? It doesn't need to be a very big circle for this mouse to be able to get to it. I feel like the spiders are relevant here. That's the inquiry. You might have a very small, you might just be inquiring about one word, right? Let's say we put Ben Anderson, the name of the astronaut that was orbiting the moon. Let's say we put Ben Anderson into the search. It's a very small search in comparison to all the information on the internet, but the answers are going to look like this. Again, if you've never seen that movie by Scarlett Johansson, or starring Scarlett Johansson, called In Her Skin, you should go watch it. It is about an alien that wears human skin, much like this. Oh, okay. Here's the burden basket, which is in the reverse. That's a good thing because I was feeling nervous doing this reading. This is what's being guarded. This is why there's a fence put up. There's like, do not enter. This is why the Apollo missions discontinued. It wasn't about the number, because Apollo 17 is the last one that was officially recognized on record, and it says at the end of the Apollo 18, all of the information was redacted. There was really no burden, because now there's really no burden. This isn't for you, it isn't for me. There really just is nothing. There's no gift to be had because it's now blocked off. I'm also going to say, whatever that query was, okay, whatever the question was, whatever this mouse found was not a burden. It was a gift, but maybe not in our atmosphere. It is a horror movie, so yes, you should be fearful. hmm That's why it's blocked off. Do you see the steps up here? That's why the gates are closed, is because they're keeping the moon rocks that they do have a relatively quiet secret. Quiet as a mouse. If you give a mouse a cookie, okay, that's a good reference for this specific reading because of the cookies that are also downloaded when you go search for things. It leaves a trail of what you've searched for. They did find the footprints of the cosmonaut before they found the dead cosmonaut. Okay. That's that. On the bottom of the deck is the castle. There's the scepter. I'm not going to take the two together because I just peeled the basket off of here, but I'm going to continue peeling the onion. Let me get one for the Nine of Wands, please. Yeah. So here we've got a witch. I'm going to say this is a question because we're talking about queries and cookies. Nobody really knows which way this was supposed to go. So there's the scepter. So if you think about this as like a walking stick or a cane of some type, this was a wand that you use to divinate. No one can really figure out what happened. when you think about the fact that there have already been wild conspiracy theories thrown out there about perhaps the map that we're accustomed to looking at, the map of the world, you can mentally kind of see how that mind map or the map of the world that we have learned how to pay attention to. In one crazy conspiracy theory, the moon actually is a reflection of the earth, and the earth is reflecting a map of the moon. So they're actually one and the same in terms of geological layout, but it was a Nazi idea to think about that kind of stuff. Um, I'm not sure if I can quickly find the yeah. So basically, yeah, it says that if you project a flat map onto a spherical orb, it may look very different than what you expect. Another observation that I heard from somebody else, this is not my observation, but the eyes of a cat. When you look at the eye of a cat, it's in a slit shape. If you look at any other cat, like a tiger or a leopard or any other cat, period, a lynx, their eyes don't look like that. So why do house cat eyes have slits in them, right? Go look up the two slit theory. It's about photons of light and the way that they access their destination based off decision making. Yes, I said it. Photons of light can make their own decision, especially when they're being observed, when they're being watched in specific. It changes the trajectory of their path. In other words, it influences their behavior. So when we think about things like the pyramid in Giza and the Leaning Tower of Pisa, okay, there's sometimes a sundial effect that happens. And it's been also conspiracy theory, by the way, that they're instruments for engineers that are much more advanced than we are. Instruments to be used. So that being said, the beings that we do know have eyes with slits in them are snakes, and cats tend to hiss, kind of like a snake. Okay? The reason I'm telling you this is to send you a message in a bottle. It's just things that make you think. All right? The Apollo mission had me thinking after I watched it, because in the case that we are interested in things like DARPA, nanotechnology, nanobot technology, and robotics with AI, it's going to be really important to understand that we may not be the first ones that have discovered such things. We wouldn't know what happened on the moon because the Russian died. The cosmonaut was up there dead. But we weren't the first. So there may be other accounts of these things that are not being shared. Right. Let me go again with the I'll use the universe deck, the galaxy, the intergalactic deck to try to get further clarification. Um In reproductive health, you can look it up yourself if you don't believe me, because I went to go look it up. We actually have taken human remains, cremated human remains to the moon. And there's been robotic semen created, as well as ways to cure cancer for ovarian health systems and fertility. Two other things to keep in mind. This nebula came out. This is literally what the title card of this entire deck looks like. This is transformation. It's, if you can see that eye, that's probably why I needed to explain the eyes of a cat. It does seem fishy when you know what the birth or the death of a star looks like. It's a crowning. Okay, and look what's right beneath this is a big old key. That's the third card that was in that deck there. So, um, as uh, as you're giving birth, it's not actually very easy to see what's going on, because you've got two poles. You know, obviously this top of your head and the bottom of your tailbone. And from your midsection here, there's a crowning that happens when you give birth. By the way, every time, because of the conservation of mass in physics, that law, every time something is destroyed, something else is created. When one door closes, like the door to pregnancy, another door opens, like your child's life begins. Your child life will begin from that point forward. This is going to be the top of the reading. Yeah, top of the reading right there. That really is like just one. That's the only card that flipped. This is coming out with the rocks, the moon. We're just going to call this the moon rocks. And this is it is important on the moon if you're in the shadow of the moon. If you're in a shadow on the moon, it's very, very cold immediately. Like the temperature drops really quickly as soon as you're not in line with the sun. If you're not in line with the sun, you're gonna freeze faster than that. So that's what I feel like this cooking is all about. But it's all about before and after you eat. It's kind of what we've observed up there, I guess, is before and after someone else found out what was going on. Okay. As I cut the deck, the black hole is here. I will continue to shuffle. I don't know why these cards are... Oh, okay, this is interesting. I'm just going to show you. Right underneath the Stardust, this is the next card out, and it is the title card. Literally, I just told you, this is the card that is the title card for the deck. There is the black hole. Oh, see what I mean? That nothing is really created or destroyed. It's the peeling of the onion. What's on the inside tends to reflect on the outside, and what's on the outside tends to reflect on the inside, energetically speaking, not literally physically. I'm just going to leave this universe card here at the top of the reading with the transformation, because that's what it is. It's the transfer of a title. It's the transformation of our understanding of what happens. So if you were to think about the inner universe that lives inside of you, that should be synonymous with the universe that we're looking up at in the sky. I think people have already kind of figured that part out, but if not, then so be it. I'm going to shuffle this really well because of those two cards coming out back to back. We've already come face to face with these ideas before, maybe not in this order. There's a way that you can create new patents by using existing patents in a different way. For example, you can have, like, the ATM machine has already been created. But if you create a machine that uses an ATM in a very different way or through a different application than it's already being utilized in the general public, that gives you a brand new patent that was a mystery to everybody else before. It was a mystery to everybody else before. It was had never been demystified. That is I'm putting this down as the declassification of information. This Selkie energy is a mystery. The skin that you're in, not such a mystery. We know what's on the inside of our bodies, but we don't necessarily know everything inside of our gray matter. We don't even use the majority of our brain, which I think is interesting that this is gray, literally a gray skin on the outside rather than on the inside. Same concept of the mapping of the moon. It's the wrapping of something that could be flat, laid flat. The skin could be laid flat. People do it to polar bears all the time. Or to bears, bear skins, cat skins. It's very Cruella de Vil and kind of cringe. But using the fur, laying it flat as a rug. Selkies choose to wear it instead and become the creature whose skin they're wearing. Okay? The screams of Mystique energy with X-Men. All she has to do is think about it, send out a query, and she turns into whatever person, place, or person. She wears the skin of the person that she's thinking of. That's the mystery of Mystique. Otherwise, she's blue all the time. She's got blue skin. In her natural form, she doesn't look like a human. Because she isn't. She's not a human. Let me get one for the Ten of Swords. The only contention that there is that those moon rocks will kill you if you get too close to them. They were there for the first night without a vent. They heard strange sounds, but they didn't see anything weird. There was a sample in the ship that I believe moved on its own. I believe so. But other than that, the first night, nothing was really out of place. It was the second day that they were there. These fell out upside down, so I'm just going to keep, it didn't show any, it didn't flip upright in any of these, so I'm going to keep shuffling until one does. Yeah, none of the moon rocks were apparently alive or appeared to have any kind of animation about them whatsoever up until the second night that they were there. And that's when the rock ended up getting into the suit of one of the astronauts. There's the red giant. It's inflation, and this is failure in the reverse. At first, they thought they were making a bigger deal out of it than it really was. So what? They couldn't figure out how this sample of moon rock got out of the bag and across the entire pod by itself. What they failed to realize was that it was alive. So here we've got mystery of inflation. So I don't see inflation as this being a literal money, obviously. This is like making a big deal out of something in your brain, or having a mystery, a conspiracy theory to toy around with, or to mess with in some way. Thinking that you're thinking too big, or maybe you're thinking too small. Let me get one for the Nine of Wands, please. A female embryo has to be between 15 and 18 weeks gestated before all of the ova in the ovaries of a little girl, a baby girl, are actually populated at that time. Viable ovaries, unfertilized viable ovaries, are present in the human body of a female zygote between 15 and 18 weeks gestated. Think about that. When you cremate somebody, the enamel on your teeth is hard enough to protect the pulp, or what we would call bone marrow any other place, but it's the pulp of your tooth. These are just facts that I'm throwing out there because of the fact that we're looking into. There's no way to hook on to these things. There's no way that